Yeah, man.
All right.
Tell you what, getting back in that stage time, there's nothing like it.
Oh, man, I can't wait. Just one more week.
Yeah.
Then I'm back in the fold again.
Well, you had a little scare there.
A little scare, but scare's over.
And we're back at the Sports Experience Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Chris Quinn. My other co-host, Dominic DiTolla. We're just a couple of comics who love sports, talking sports, and we're just right back into the fold.
Hell yes, we are.
And we're talking a great goalkeeper.
Goalie.
Yeah, excuse me, a goalie.
I think goalkeeper's soccer.
Yeah, it is. But I was going to say a great goalie and a great drinker.
This man and I needed to party.
I didn't
and need to party.
I was going to say I had no idea about this. It's one of my favorite things, but just finding out little backstories about these guys, you're just like, oh, okay. But here we go. Ed Belfour, Blackhawks, the Sharks for a second.
And then most famously the Stars. Yep. Yeah, that's where kind of everything came together. But Ed Belfour, born April 21st, 1965 in Carman, Manitoba, Canada, was a great youth hockey player. Yeah, which you see a lot of these young Canadians go up into these juniors and when they excel, they go on to this next level. Yeah, they usually go from juniors to the pros, but he spent 3 seasons in the Manitoba Junior Hockey League. And in 1986, they won the championship.
Yep.
And his team was the Winkler Flyers, which just makes me think of Henry Winkler.
Exactly.
I should have just called him the Winkler Fonzies. I feel like that would have been a good one.
Oh, man, they need a name change.
But he's 21 years old at this point, but instead of going, since he's undrafted, he goes to college as a 21-year-old freshman.
I found that so interesting because he went to the University of North Dakota.
He went the Bobby Boucher route, basically.
Yeah, well, and they said that he was their freshman goalie, and he was older than most of the seniors.
I can totally guarantee you he bought the underclassmen beer.
Oh, I am sure.
And I mean, granted, probably North Dakota, the drinking age at that time was like 15.
Yes.
But still like...
hard alcohol.
Yeah, hard alcohol. He's probably just like, hey, you guys sick of drinking hairspray? Yeah. Guess who's got an ID?
It's pretty... I mean, his story is pretty unorthodox because what we were talking about, a lot of these great Canadian players go straight from juniors. They see this potential, they sign them up, they draft them, and then they pretty much work them into their system.
Yeah, because you usually play like 3 years. You play like 16 to 18, and then you're old enough for the NHL draft. And he's not drafted, so he goes to college, and he fucking dominates for the Fighting Sioux in North Dakota. Yeah. He gets 29 of their 40 wins. It was a new NCAA record. Win the national title, and he's still undrafted.
That's the thing that I found really weird about this because it felt like he was the backbone of this team.
Yeah.
With a lot of this, the stats that you look at. And for him to just go undrafted is crazy.
I mean, how could you get undrafted? Like, the guy's a great goalie. He's buying the underclassmen alcohol. They're winning. I mean, great fucking resume right there. I mean,
well,
I tell you what.
It brings into question maybe there was some off-ice antics that were... But it's just a weird one where maybe he was just
This is
over.
the late 80s in North Dakota.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
right.
sure, like, unless you're committing criminal minds crimes, it's getting swept under the rug.
This is boys will be boys.
Yeah, this is definitely boys will be boys. But he signs with the Blackhawks.
Yep.
He signs with the Blackhawks after North Dakota, and he's with the Saginaw Hawks in the IHL. Won 32 games in 87-88. And in 88-89, he actually saw some time with the big club.
Yeah, he played like 20 games or so.
Yeah, he didn't do too hot, 4-12 and 3, but he spent the entire 89-90 season with the Canadian national team.
And then this is where I read about this, but they were saying like this is where he really turned into an elite goalie because spending time, I feel like in the IHL, it wasn't necessarily the competition level that he needed.
Yeah, and it's just like a very weird career arc.
It's the weirdest.
Yeah, it's just it's like, oh well, I'm playing juniors, and then I'm going to college, and then I'm going to the minors, and now I'm on the Canadian national team after a small stint in the NHL. That just seems so odd to me. I've never seen this.
That's what I mean, though, and I felt like looking at his career, once he got around these absolutely elite players in this national program, that's when he really started to excel. And that's when the Blackhawks brought him in for that playoff.
Yeah, the playoff run. And he finished 4-2 with a 2.49 goals against average. So, I mean, like,
he's now set as their goaltender of the future, whether it was the time in Saginaw or whether it's a time with the Canadian national team, which I'm going to say is probably it, that kind of like led him to an elite level. That's when they're like, okay, we have a great netminder right now.
And he's still young, even though he didn't come through that normal
Yeah, he's
path.
like 24, 25. So it's just still young in hockey years.
Yep.
I mean, but 90-91, he's a rookie and he just comes out fucking firing.
Yeah.
Like he just comes out, guns blazing, like, hello, NHL, here I am, let's party.
Well, they say it was probably the best recent rookie goalie. So that's really what they were saying because, I mean, give me some stats because I'm about to list them off, but I know you want them.
43, 19, and 7 record, which means he was in goal for 69 of the 82 games, which is unbelievable. 2.47 goals against average, also led the league. And led the league in save percentage with a 91% save percentage, which made him the first goalie to lead the league in wins, save percentage, and goals against average. That was not matched until 2014, 2015 with Carey Price and the Canadiens.
Yep.
And he wins the Calder Trophy as the Rookie of the Year, wins the Vezina, which is the top goalie, which is fucking incredible, and then the Jennings Trophy for goals against average, and was a finalist for the Hart Trophy, which is the NHL's version of MVP.
And he was actually the first rookie goalie to ever do that.
Yeah,
to be in a finalist for the Hart Trophy,
which is insane. Yeah. That's how good he was. Like just cat-like reflexes, just really on the ball with that.
Right off of the bat, which is you just see it in this Blackhawks team.
And that was a period where the Blackhawks were starting to put together like a really good young team. I mean, like kind of led by Jeremy Roenick, and they finished with the best record in the. I want to say it's the Campbell. It's the Western Conference. I mean, this is pre fucking expansion and extra expansion and shit. But even though they finished with the best record, they go out in the first round to the Minnesota North Stars, who had a losing regular season record, but the North Stars end up making it all the way to the finals that year and lose to Pittsburgh. And you can learn more about that on our Mario Lemieux episode, which is somewhere, I believe, in the mid to late 20s. But fantastic rookie year. He's basically established himself as the team's goalie. And heading into 91-92, the team has another goalie on the roster who's kind of up and coming.
And this is something that throughout his career with the Blackhawks, I didn't necessarily see it as much. I think way later in his career, we see it again. But he constantly has trouble, just weird problems with backup goalies.
With constant competition.
That's what I think it is.
It's like he wants to be the motherfucker in charge, and he is, but it's like that creeping like suspicion, like, that competitiveness, like, oh, fuck this guy. And the guy we're talking about actually is, who was his backup, is Dominic Hasek, who is arguably a better goalie than Belfour, despite Belfour being a Hall of Famer.
Yes.
He's one of the greatest goalies of all time. Chicago ended up acquiring him from, at that time, Czechoslovakia, which isn't even a country anymore. And that's a period where you start seeing the mid to late 80s, the NHL really going after these fucking Soviet and Soviet satellite players.
Well, we see the problem because they felt like Ed Belfour was going to be their future. They let Dominic Hasek go to Buffalo.
Yeah, after the season. But 91-92, he only plays in about 50 games.
Yeah.
He's 21, 18, and 10, which is great. And his save percentage is less than 90%, and he has a 2.7 goals against average. The problem, or I shouldn't say the problem, is the team is really good around him.
Yes.
And they're so good, in fact, that they go all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals.
And lose to the back-to-back
to the Penguins, and they get swept.
I was going to say they got swept. Yeah, they got crushed. So.
And I don't know if you've ever watched this, but there's a game where they put Hasek in, and he's just absolutely beaten, like a fucking Reddit mule in that game, and they have to put Belfour back in, and it's just
sad.
It's sad to see how overmatched they were in that final, but they were a great team, and after the season, they shipped Hasek to Buffalo.
And that's what I was saying was a lot of that had to do with not his skill, because they could see that Hasek was going to be a fucking great goalie. It was a lot to do with the problems that they kind of chose Belfour.
Yeah, they chose him, which is still a great choice. You're not losing either way.
Exactly.
But
two Hall of Fame goalies there, so you're not.
Yeah, and in 91, he won the Gold to Canada Cup as a backup goaltender for that team. But he's still very successful, over the next few years. 92, 93, 93, 94. He's 78, 42, and 17, which is nothing to sneeze at. He's an all-star during this period.
Yes.
The problem is for Chicago is Detroit emerges as the new team.
The new powerhouse.
In the Western Conference. And they can't really break through. They're getting first-round playoff exits all the way through then. In 94, 95, they actually advanced to the conference finals, but end up losing to Detroit in the strike-shortened season because he went, obviously, because it's strike-shortened, 22, 15, and 3. 2.28 goals against average, which is much better than, previously. His save percentage is back over 90%. And then in 95, 96, they end up losing in the second round of the playoffs to Colorado.
Oh, yes.
And that was a great... I don't know if we had talked about this, but... Jeremy Roenick was talking shit about Patrick Waugh during the series, and Patrick Waugh, they interviewed him like, hey, what do you think of Jeremy's comments? He's like, well, I really can't hear Jeremy with 2 Stanley Cups plugging my ears because like he can't get the English quite right because he's like a Francophone speaker. So he's like, I've got these Stanley Cups in my ears. But like Belfour is going against some of the greatest goaltenders in these playoff series and unfortunately coming up short despite being really good.
Well, that's what these playoffs, and when we're going to talk about it when he goes to the Stars, is the goalie duels are probably some of the best ever.
Oh, yeah. No, like, I mean, in terms of like wins and talent of all time, just like amazing. This is when the Western Conference in NHL, and I remember living in Colorado at this time, it's like Detroit's always there.
There's 3 teams.
Dallas is always there. Colorado's there. And like whoever's going to emerge is going to be one of those 3 teams for a pretty extended period.
And the fights. I don't know if anybody...
Oh, yeah. The fight episode, I think 4. Yeah. You can go listen to that. But back on Eddie the Eagle, and we'll get into why he got that nickname.
Oh, I love it.
In 96, 97, so he's just over 30 years old. Still got plenty of, juice left in his career. But he turned down a contract extension from Chicago.
All right, now let me get into this. So there's a backup goalie for Chicago.
Yep.
What's his name?
I think it's Jeff Hackett or Hackett.
Hackett, I think his name. So he's not like a...
He's not like good. He's not like Hasek.
At all.
Yeah.
I don't even think he became their starter afterwards, but...
No,
he had a problem with him.
Yeah.
And then this is what was said. There was a huge bust up in the locker room. He then refused to sign a contract so that Chicago was like, we just need to trade him.
Well, I mean, the logic for Chicago's front office is good because you have your top goalie going, you thinking you're better than me?
Yes.
But like, the logic is sound because if he's not going to accept a contract offer,
they're going to lose him for free.
You're going to lose him in free agency for nothing. So you might as well try and trade him and see who wants him. And what ends up happening on January 25th of 1997, so like basically the middle of the year, he's traded for Ulf Dahlin, Michael Sikora, goalie Chris Terreri, and a second-round pick in 1998 to the San Jose Sharks. Which, for San Jose, you're trying to make a playoff run, trying to make a big midseason splash, but you got to know in the back of your mind, he's only contractually obligated to play for you for the rest of the season. And, nothing comes of it. They don't make the playoffs. And Belfour, in the summer of 97, is looking for a new team.
Hey, everybody. Just want to take a quick break to let you know that our Sports Experience podcast is brought to you by Engle Studio here, and they're here in Tucson for all your recording needs.
Well, they were saying that he went to the Sharks and was already committed to not staying, so he almost didn't even put full effort in, and that's hard to even say, but the team around him wasn't what he wanted.
Well, yeah, and it's I can see it from his perspective because all those years he played in Chicago, they were a competitive team.
Exactly.
They were always making the playoffs. They made a Stanley Cup run. I mean, they had the best record in the NHL or in the Western Conference one year. Like, I can see, because San Jose as a franchise is maybe 5 years old at this point.
Yep.
I can see where that could become frustrating.
Yeah.
But in a stroke of luck and great decision making, later that summer, after 96-97, July 2nd, he signs with the Dallas Stars. And that's probably the move that put Dallas from a good up-and-coming team, because they had put together a lot of good players like Mike Modano and whatnot. They finally, have their guy in net.
Yep.
After so many years of it kind of just being mediocre.
And at this point, he has playoff experience. He has all this shit under his belt where he really can bring this team together, and what we see, just start making these runs.
Well, I mean, and he had a career rebirth, if you think about it, because he's, 32 at this point?
Yes.
Ready to kick ass. Dallas that year in 97-98, they win the President's Trophy, and you get the President's Trophy when you have the most points.
The most points, yeah.
And went 37, 12, and 10, sub 2 goals against average.
I know,
That's amazing.
It's insane.
Almost a 92% save percentage, and they go all the way to the Western Conference Finals, and they play
one of those two teams. It's so funny because it's so true.
Well, this was Detroit went back-to-back, and this was the second year, and they were just big red machining it all the way, and no shame in that, but...
No, that's the thing about these playoff runs is when you see Detroit, Colorado, Dallas break through, you're like, yeah, they deserve it this year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then 98-99 is where it all finally comes together.
Yes.
Wins the Jennings Trophy for lowest goals against average, 1.96 goals against average, 35, 15, and 9. I mean, just absolutely... fantastic.
Yeah,
absolutely
dominant.
Fantastic. And in the playoffs, he beats Grant Fuhr, another one of our episodes.
I love it.
And then in a 7-game Western Conference Finals, they finally beat the Colorado Avalanche and Patrick Waugh.
Yep.
And that sets up a very interesting Stanley Cup Finals matchup between Dallas and the Buffalo Sabres.
And the Buffalo Sabres have kept this goalkeeper that got traded to them, Dominic Hasek, and they were like, yeah, he's the best goalie out there. But they weren't the best team.
And Eddie Belfour is like, you thinking you're better than me?
Yeah.
And in this series, Belfour did a hell of a job,
yes.
particularly in, I don't know if you've ever watched this, Game 6, Stanley Cup Finals, Dallas and Buffalo. The game goes to triple overtime, and Dallas can clinch the series. Belfour makes 53 saves. 53 saves in the deciding game, and there is a lot of controversy. I don't know if you had read about this, about the final goal with Brett Hull being in the goal crease.
Yep.
Yeah, with his skate knocking it in. But
it was a goal.
It's a goal.
Yep.
The Stars won their first of 2 Stanley Cups in their history, and during the playoffs, it was Belfour who won all 16 games.
Yes.
He won all 16 games, and that was probably the crowning achievement of his career.
I think so. The 97-98 season seems like his...
98-99?
98,
Yeah.
yes, excuse me. 98-99 just seems like going through all these goalies, beating Waugh, and then coming up and beating Dominic Hasek at the end. Like, I can't even imagine what that must have felt like.
I feel like he would have sent a box of his own shit to Chicago and said, hey, take that. But the next year is just as good for Dallas. I mean, I shouldn't say just as good, but almost as good.
Yes.
Where,
they're just as their team is just as good. They're,
still won over 30 games,
Yep.
still over 90% save percentage, 2.1 goals against average, and they're kicking ass and
still beating Waugh in the playoffs.
And they make it to the Stanley Cup Finals again.
Against those damn Devils.
Against the New Jersey Devils, who were quite the team of this era.
Yes.
And losing 4-2 in the finals. Martin Brodeur was the Devils goalie, and he's Hall of Fame.
Yes.
I mean, he's one of the best ever.
Well,
so there's no shame in losing to him.
If you're questioning why Eddie Belfour never was like the starting Canadian goalkeeper, it's because of Martin.
Well, yeah, you had so much goddamn
That's what
talent.
I mean.
Like, it's not even fair.
I'm just saying. So there were just like guys, but a great stat from that series was, I think through the whole playoffs he had 4 shutouts, but then in one of the games, I think it was game 5, he had a fucking shutout over 3 overtimes.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Like, I know. Just that's who he was. He always came up big, and he's almost lost in the shuffle of this era of amazing goaltenders, and he's just right there. He's right there. I mean, great player, just an absolute great player. And this is kind of when Dallas's roster, you make these deep postseason runs, the players get older, things start to go a little bit downhill.
Well, I saw there was a rift between the coach and the GM, and the GM wanted to clear house. And that's kind of what...
They wanted to rebuild.
Yeah, it happens, and I feel like a lot of these teams are like, why are we rebuilding when we're still winning?
Yeah, and I mean...
Which is unfortunate, but you see it's smart in a lot of cases.
You want to rebuild a year early as opposed to a year late.
Exactly.
And that was kind of what the hang-up was, because in 2000, 2001, they make the playoffs, but they have an early exit. 2001, 2002, they don't even make the playoffs. But he's still doing a decent job. He's 66, 47, and 18, so he's still playing winning hockey. It's just at the end of the season, they don't want to... Like, he's played out his contract.
Yes.
He's played out the entire thing. They're just like... Okay, well, you're 36 years old, and we have a good backup goalie who's young and Marty Turco, and we're just going to go that route.
Yep.
Thank you for everything you've done for us. And July 2nd, again, oddly enough, he signs with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
And it seems weird because when he goes to Dallas and then he goes to Toronto, he has like a career rebirth in his first years there, which I find so fascinating.
Yeah, he definitely gets that. I guess it must be like that, like invigorating of being on this new team. But like he really has these great 3-year periods when he first goes to a team outside of San Jose.
Yeah, well, I mean that one kind of doesn't count. You get some mulligan for that.
I was gonna say he just didn't even want to do that. He's just like, we're waiting this one out.
Yeah, playing at the old Cow Palace, I think. But first year, 37, 20, and 5. Set a career high in save percentage with a 92.2%. Unfortunately, they lost 4-3 in the first round of the playoffs. And Toronto has been it's been a house of horrors for them since then. They're like the Cleveland Browns of the NHL as far as like the mid 60s was the last time that they were like winning things. And it's been just disastrous ever since. But following season, 03-04, 34-19-6, still putting up great stats. He had 3 shutouts against the Senators in the first round. I think that's so fascinating.
He is such a great goalkeeper. And this is when he was 37-38 that he got 3 shutouts. So
yeah, and then the next round, I think they lost in 7 games to the Flyers.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
against old Jeremy Roenick, his buddy. I saw that.
Definitely. But 04-05, it's the lockout. I don't know if you remember that.
Yep.
But like, I remember during the 03-04 Stanley Cup Finals, I think it was Calgary and Tampa Bay, and they were talking about like, oh, well, maybe they'll have a shortened season next year because of the collective bargaining. Nope, they didn't. They just canceled the whole season of hockey. And that was what led to ESPN dumping the contract and, it becoming an even more almost insular regional sport, which is unfortunate because like I used to always look forward to watching hockey on ESPN,
Well, you can kind of see their sport in popularity kind of going down from there. And it also centralized, like you were saying, like it really is certain markets absolutely love it. So
yeah. And then 05-06, he just kind of he has a 500 season and he's fucking almost 40 years. He's 40 years old.
Yes.
Like he's 40 years old and still starting in goal. But in that year, a couple important things happen. The 19th of December, 2005, he wins his 448th game, which puts him in second place ahead of Terry Sawchuk behind Patrick Waugh at the time for most wins ever, which is a testament to his career because if you think about it, he's not coming up at 20 years old.
I know.
He's 21 playing college hockey. He doesn't really get his first real NHL action until he's in his mid-20s. And yet here he is, second on the all-time wins list at the time.
It's because he goes deep in playoffs and he has great regular season records. It's really, and that's what you want as a goalie. You want to just be constantly winning.
Yeah, and then after the season, 2006, 2007, he finds himself in Florida.
Yeah.
And That's another issue with his backup goaltender, Alex Auld. Do you want to get into that?
So was Alex Auld the backup goalkeeper at this point, or was he? Or were they really switching?
I think they were probably switching. It sounds like I think the team wanted to play him more just because he was younger and that type of shit. But Belfour's like pulling the Mike Gundy. I'm a man. I'm 40.
So the report that the team stated was that the two guys were just horsing around, wrestling, whatever, and he injured him. Ed Belfour injured. Sorry, what was his name?
Alex Auld.
And then reports from the locker room came out.
The real story.
Nah, that was a real fight, and Ed fucking beat his ass. Yeah. And it was like, oh, okay. And I think he injured him.
Ed Belfour seems like the guy at a bar that if you cross, he'll take his shirt off and go full Randy Marsh and be like, what do you want to do, huh? What do you want to do?
I thought I got traded from Canada to America.
I'm sorry. I thought this was America.
In
a communist country? But he plays a lot that season, oddly enough.
Well, somebody got injured. So.
Yeah, somebody got injured because they got their ass beat. But he wins 27 games and has over a 90% save percentage. And he even tied that year, February 13th, 2007, Tony Esposito, Hall of Famer, with his 76th shutout. Which was 8th all time. I thought that was pretty incredible. But after his final season, he finishes his career with 484 wins, 2.5 goals against average, over 90% save percentage, and puts cherry on top of the Hall of Fame career after Florida.
I'll say this, and we look back to his rookie career. This is why I liked it so much, was in his rookie career, he led the league in wins, saves, and goals against average. And then you look at the stats at the end of his career, and you're just like, 2.5, you know what I mean? Like the over 90% save percentage, like that kind of shit. You're just like, that's Hall of Fame numbers.
That's first ballot. And I mean, he made it to 2011 to the Hockey Hall of Fame. But he did finish his career, oddly enough, in Sweden.
Oh, I saw that.
He played for Leksands, went 16-3-1, 1.79 goals against average, and over 92% save percentage.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was there to pick up a paycheck. I don't know what's going on. Maybe he just loves hockey.
I don't know what's going on in Sweden. Maybe he just loves the women.
But he was an 8-time All-Star, All-Rookie, one-time Stanley Cup winner, Calder Cup winner, and 2-time Vezina winner, which that's nothing to sneeze at. That is nothing to sneeze at all in almost 500 career wins.
Especially in that era.
Yeah.
That's something that, just making the All-Star in that era with all those goalkeepers is wild.
Oh, absolutely. And you want to bring up his nickname?
Oh, yeah. So when he first came to the Blackhawks, he had an eagle on his helmet.
Yeah.
And it was just like goalkeepers kind of had that, like their own.
Everyone had their own style.
Yeah.
Everyone had their own kind of like panache with their goalie masks and stuff. It wasn't like the old just wearing a Jason mask, from Friday the 13th. But
And the coach was like, all right, that's your name now.
Eddie the Eagle. Yeah, Mike Keenan.
That
all was good, yeah. Quoted as saying, I always liked the eagle as a bird. It's a strong figure representing individuality, leadership, confidence, and outstanding vision. Its hunting and aggression are qualities I admire. So when I was thinking of what I wanted on my mask, the eagle was a natural choice.
And he's always had it throughout his whole career, and it's kind of changes throughout teams, and it's awesome.
Oh yeah, totally. He had what did they say, like an old 41 Willys car on the back of it. Yeah, because he's obsessed with motor vehicles, and Make-A-Wish thing on the chin for the charities he
is hugely involved in that, and has been, I think, throughout his whole career and post-career.
Oh, totally, yeah. Do you want to get into his off-ice stuff that didn't involve locker room fights?
Well, let's put it like this. He's Canadian.
Yeah.
So the Canadians, they like to drink a bit of the swill.
Yeah, drink a little bit of Ripple there.
You know?
October 20th, 2000, pled guilty to a misdemeanor charge of where he made a woman feel unsafe in a Dallas hotel room, which I don't know what that entailed, but he was very intoxicated when this happened.
And this is something that, because he keeps getting in trouble with police, but he gets intoxicated to the point where he's almost incoherent.
Which makes what happens when the cops pick him up even better.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Because when he's picked up, tell him what happens.
Well, the cops pick him up and he's just like, all right, if you don't arrest me, I'm going to give you guys $1 billion.
Which is like the most Dr. Evil thing ever. Like,
starts yelling for the suitcases. Like, it's just like, the cops are like, yeah, all right.
Sort this one out in the tank there, friend.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised he didn't go with I'm Ed Belfour.
Yeah.
I play for the Stars.
Or do that fucking whore Reese Witherspoon. Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? I'm Ed Belfour.
That would have been the best.
Oh, and he did it in that voice.
Yeah.
You know who I am? Friend. I'm not your buddy, guy.
Just starts touching their shoulders.
Yeah.
Come on, friend. I can't even do the Canadian one like that, but it's just so good. But he really had a problem with alcohol.
It seems like it. He paid $3,000 for resisting arrest. Then he's in Florida, April 9th, 2007, with one of his teammates. He was so incoherent outside a Florida nightclub, just completely loaded, that they had to take him away.
And pretty sure he trashed a hotel too,
he
right?
totally did. Yeah. Just completely destroyed it. Out on $1,500 bond. And then we're getting into some recent stuff now.
I was surprised at this, man.
I think he knew in the back of his mind that COVID was coming when you consider the date, and he's just like, one more banger to end everything.
That's exactly what I thought. He's like, look, shit's closing down in 2 months. I'm going to fuck some shit up.
Time to fucking rage.
But it's pretty much the same.
It's the same story, different chapter. January 28th, 2020, Bowling Green, Kentucky. Went to the Warren Township Regional Jail out there in Kentucky. 3rd-degree criminal mischief, drunk in public, damaging hotel property, again. And it said he was so intoxicated with alcohol to a point that he was a danger to himself and others. Which,
if that's not a Hall of Fame hockey player, then I don't know what is.
Exactly. He's just like, do you know who I am?
In Kentucky.
Yeah.
They're like, exactly. Yeah, we know who you are.
But no, he had an incredible career. I mean, I remember watching him as a kid and a young adult, and one of the NHL's best goalies, belongs in the Hall of Fame. Great character, just fun to research.
Hey everybody, this is just a stock message at the end of every episode. We hope you enjoyed whatever athlete and or team that episode was about. Just want to say, give us a quick follow on all social media. We have a YouTube channel, the Sports Experience Podcast, and we're on Instagram, DiTolla Dominic, and myself, C. Quinn Comedy. So give us a follow all around. We're always recording right here at Engle Studio. Thank you all very much.